my forehead.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the BTB Show. Today we are recording this on Tuesday, February 2nd. It's 2 days before the trade deadline, but seems like teams are kind of treating today like the trade deadline because we had two somewhat major trades break within about an hour of each other. Obviously, the first one, the bigger trade, is Jaren Jackson Jr. going to Utah along with teammates John Conchar, Jock Landale, and Vince Williams Jr. The Jazz in this trade are sending Walter Clayton Jr., Kyle Anderson, Taylor Hendricks, George Niang, and 3 future firsts. At the time of recording this, I don't think we know exactly what the conditions of the firsts are, whether some of them are unprotected or lottery protected or swap. Like, those details will come out. If they are out, I'm missing them right now. Apologies. So that's the first trade we're going to talk about. The second trade, which I'll briefly mention now, but we're going to talk about the Jaren Jackson Jr. one first, is the Chicago, Minnesota, and Detroit multi-team trade. Again, we'll get into that later in the episode. For now, I'm going to start with Earl. What's your reaction to Jaren Jackson Jr. officially being traded from the team that drafted him all those years? I say all those years ago, but it's been like 5 or 6 years. What's your reaction to him going to Utah?
Man, I love it for Jaren Jackson Jr., bro. Like, surprisingly or not, I just don't think Jaren Jackson Jr. really fit on the Grizzlies. I felt like for the most part, he was one of the guys who put in a lot of work and other guys weren't around. Shout out to Ja Morant. A lot of injuries with Ja. I know Jaren Jackson had his fair share as well, but I think the Jazz is a fresh new start for him. And they have a really decent roster. We already seen guys take steps up. Shout out to Keontae George, Omar's big pick for most improved and stuff like that. He definitely did rep him this season. I'll give him that. But their lineup looks crazy. I'm looking at their potential starting lineup for next year. It's Keontae George, Ace Bailey, Lauri Markkanen, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Walker Kessler. I think that's an absolutely big dog lineup. It's, 3 7-footers in that lineup? Or Lauri, he's close to that, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I think it's a...
Yeah, Jaren Jackson's the non-7-footer.
Oh, 6'11". Yeah, my fault. He's close. I mean, it's a big... Let's just say it's a big team. Ace Bailey is pretty tall too. So, yeah, I think the Jazz finally decided to wake up and they say, hey, we don't want to be like kind of floating at the bottom, going for picks, and they want to be a true contender. I don't know if this 100% is a full contender year one, but it definitely is a competitive roster. It's going to give a lot of teams trouble. Like, let's be real. Walker Kessler and Jaren Jackson Jr. combination on defense is going to be scary for teams to have to go against. So, I think it was a bold move. Time will tell if it's great. I mean, any situation where you're giving up 3+ first-round picks is definitely a lot. But, I mean, the Jazz, they've been taking for years, so they probably just want to get out the pick culture, and I respect them for that. So, shout out to the Jazz. I love it. Grizzlies, smart move, man. I said it before. I think I've been saying this for the last couple of seasons. I don't think the Grizzlies could have won any championship with Jaren Jackson and John Morant as their faces of the franchise. But I do like what they're building over there, the young talent. It looks impressive, and they're going to have a chance to do an Oklahoma City Thunder level rebuild. They have all the picks in the world. They just got to convince a top player to come there and be a part of the process. But I like the direction both of these teams are headed.
All right, Omar, what about you? Whose side do you like more in this trade?
I mean, well, to answer your question, I definitely like Utah's side a lot better. I don't really like this for Memphis for reasons that I'll get into in a moment. But mostly I have to give it to Earl here because he mostly covered all the points that I was going to cover. Like these this is quintessential, and I feel like this is the way that teams are actually going to start building their teams a lot in the future. We've gone through the years of seeing this super team culture, bringing big threes together, big twos, big whatever, and now we're finally entering an era where teams are starting to be a little bit smarter and build through the draft and trust in the talent that they have developed, and trust in their development teams, trusting in their doctors, and all of these aspects that go into the game of basketball. So ultimately, and Earl said they want to get off pick culture. First of all, sir, Danny Ainge is pick culture. He created that shit. You know that. That's Danny Ainge for you. But it just shows the genius behind the Utah Jazz being able to be patient with absolutely everything. We've seen the rumors for a couple of years now that the Jazz not necessarily wanting to trade Walker Kessler, but have been reluctant to trade Walker Kessler because of a move like this where they can get get another dominant power forward to help him really on the offensive side of things. I feel like Jaren Jackson is a more offensive big in this situation rather than Walker Kessler. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm open to ideas, but I really do like the asset management here by the Utah Jazz. It shows a lot of genius. It shows a lot of team. It shows a lot of patience, and it just shows that this team is just willing to sit and let it happen. And I like that.
All right. From my perspective, I guess I'll start with it from Memphis's perspective. I don't hate this for Memphis. I genuinely think it's a solid move for them. Obviously, they just moved off of Desmond Bane this past offseason, got 4 first-round picks for him. Now, selling off Jaren Jackson, getting 3 first-round picks for him. I think getting 7 picks between those two guys, I think that's more than enough to start a rebuild. It does look like, as you guys mentioned, they're kind of going to go the Thunder route and try and just commit to a full rebuild, get as many first-round picks as possible, probably bottom out for a year or two, and then try and, bounce back up from there, which, again, I think they're doing it the right way. I would assume that Ja Morant's going to be next. If you can get 1, maybe 2 first-round picks for him, you're looking at 9 first-round picks off of, moving on from your top 3 guys, which is honestly really good. So you still have young players like Zach Edey, like Jalen Wells, Cedric Howard. There's pieces on this team that I think they're going to want to keep and kind of usher into this new rebuilding phase that they're in. So I don't hate it for them. On the other hand, I'm actually going to push back a little bit on what Earl said. I do question whether this had to be the end, or the timing. Not necessarily that this was the end, but that the timing of this ending for the Jaren Jackson Jr., Ja Morant, Desmond Bane trio, did it really need to happen this soon? Because I am thinking back to last year where I think at this point in the season, or maybe a little bit before this, Memphis Grizzlies were a 3rd seed in the West, 4th seed in the West. They looked to be in position to contend or at least make a deep playoff run, which, is something they hadn't done in a while, kind of since like the mid-2010s. They've kind of been in that mid-area, but they were on the rise. They were ascending. Their 3 best players were young. They had Coach Taylor Jenkins, who had been there for a couple of years, really established a culture. And then, as we talked about on the show when it happened, they kind of inexplicably moved on from Jenkins mid-season, despite the winning record. They brought in Tomas Isolo, who I don't think is a bad coach by any means. I don't think there's enough sample size of him in the NBA to say he's a bad coach. But I don't think this is the right team for him. There's talks that him and Ja just never quite gelled the same way Taylor Jenkins did. The defensive identity of the Grizzlies has kind of taken a hit, I think, since he stepped in. So I think back to that moment, and then moving on from Desmond Bane this summer, now moving on from Jaren Jackson Jr., it feels like that core, if they don't move on from Taylor Jenkins in the middle of last season, amidst a 3rd or 4th seed run, and wind up falling to the 8th seed, and we can be honest, they had no chance against the OKC Thunder in the first round last year. That was probably the most lopsided first round matchup. Again, throwing Isolo into a playoff series just a few months into his head coaching tenure, pretty unfair to him as well. So it almost feels like now that those moves had been made, their hand was forced to do this. And so I do feel bad that trio, we never really got to see what they could do in a fully healthy playoff run after playing together for a few years. I think this team, if they were still together, could have been a top 5 or 6 seed in the West right now. I think they could be in kind of that conversation with the Lakers and the Suns right now, of that fringes of the top 6 seeds. I don't hate it for Memphis. I just question whether this needed to be done, whether this could have been avoided. I'll put it that way. And for Utah, personally, I don't really get this unless they plan on moving on from Lauri Markkanen, because while a front court of Markkanen, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Walker Kessler sounds great on paper, I think if you're any opposing team, you are going to run that team out the gym. You are going to put Lauri Markkanen. They're going to have Lauri Markkanen on your small forward, you're putting him in every pick and roll situation. The entire opposing team, I'm pushing the ball after every make, every miss, getting down the court. I'm going to make Lauri Markkanen run. I'm going to make Walker Kessler run. I'm going to make Jaren Jackson Jr. run. I don't think that lineup is actually going to work as well as it sounds like on paper. So unless a Lauri Markkanen move is coming, I don't love this for Utah. Coming into this, I think a lot of people expected them to maybe make a consolidation trade because they do have a lot of young pieces, guys like a Taylor Hendricks, Walter Clayton that got moved in this. I'm not surprised to see them consolidate some of these lottery picks they've had in the last couple of years and move on. But to then consolidate them into a star at a position where you already have a star, which will kind of force their hand to trade their existing star for more players, it's like they do a consolidation trade that forces them to then deconsolidate, if that makes sense. So
yeah, a little bit.
We'll see how this winds up shaking out. Maybe there's a Markkanen deal in the offseason, or even before that, maybe there's a Kessler deal in the offseason, but just purely fit-wise, I think that's one of those lineups where it's like, yeah, there's a lot of big-name talent there. But scheme-wise, I think running Lauri Markkanen at the small forward will not end well for the Jazz. So maybe that's not what they end up doing. I don't know. What do you guys think?
So my only counter thing to your point, Max, would be that they're at least going to try it. So do not.
It doesn't hurt to try. It does not.
Do not expect some type of trade within the next year for anybody in that starting lineup. Maybe they go ahead and revamp the bench. Maybe that takes a Lauri Markkanen. Who knows? I'm not Danny Ainge. I'm not the front office. I don't know shit about the Utah Jazz. But if I'm the Utah Jazz, I'm taking the Spurs route on this. Tell me who was talking all season that they were going to trade either De'Aaron Fox or Ace Bailey and Stephon Castle because they thought it was never going to work. I mean, no shade whatsoever. But this whole podcast was talking about it. We're all talking about they're going to have to make a trade. They're going to have to do this. They're going to have to. They're top 3 in the West because they just stayed patient.
That is true.
So everybody
they don't. But I think the difference with the Spurs is they're in a position where they're bringing Dylan Harper off the bench in a lot of these games. He's kind of
100%. Yeah,
they don't run a lineup of all 3. Sometimes they do, but they don't usually run a lineup of those 3 guards. For the Jazz to make a 3 first-round pick investment to bring in Jaren Jackson Jr. to run that lineup, that's a lot of an investment just to try it out.
I don't think it's gonna be one of those things. You make a solid point, but I don't think it's gonna be him running the team. I don't think he's gonna be the number 1 or number 2 or number 3. I think he'll probably be like number 2 scoring option on that squad, maybe next to Keontae George, and then maybe you'll see what Lauri Markkanen does from there, offensive wise. But I mean, I purely see this because they have Walker Kessler, specifically because of Walker Kessler, as more of an offensive move than a defensive move for the Utah Jazz. So I don't know where it is. I don't know where it is.
Jaren Jackson is a top defender in the league as well.
He is 100%. But even while looking at that, you can say he's more offensively gifted than Walker Kessler. Would you say that or no?
Well, yeah, and I think if they move on from Markkanen and they're able to get a good return, then I can understand it a little more from that perspective.
100%, yeah.
I think if they're going to try and make this work with Lowry at the small forward, which again, maybe that's not their plan at all, but I'm just looking at the roster they have right now and what things. This season, it's not that big a deal. I think you can run Jaren Jackson at the 5 and Markkanen at the 4. I don't hate that lineup as much, but trying to run that 3 7-footer lineup, I don't think teams in the modern NBA with how fast the pace of players are going to let them do that. And they're also putting a lot of ball handling responsibilities. They're also putting a lot of ball handling responsibilities in Keontae George and Ace Bailey's hands if that is the case. Again, they
need to get better players, somehow.
But they are young players, and Lauri Markkanen is not a ball handling small forward. He's not a pick and roll
100%.
ball handler.
But also to add on to that, I don't know if this is the last move that the Jazz will make before the deadline. Obviously, they still have other assets that can move. I'm looking at Nurkic's expiring contract potentially. To be
getting triple doubles. Why do it
now that? Because now that you have a Jaren Jackson, you have Walker Kessler and Lauri Markkanen. Like Max said, even if they decide not to run them all together, assuming one of those guys could come off. Well, one of them could come off the bench.
That's what I'm saying. But who are you moving off the bench? Are you going to put the guy you traded 3 firsts for and say you're a 6th man?
No, honestly, this is how I see it, bro. I think the only worries for me, potentially with this lineup, is the perimeter defense. I think the paint is pretty much covered. Even if Lauri gets beat off of a pick and roll action, unless you're playing against a stretch big in that situation, you're gonna have at least a Walker Kessler or a Jaren Jackson meeting you on the front end of the rim.
That's
for help defense. But Max is also correct with the pace wise. You're asking Lauri Markkanen to run around with one of the most fast paced eras of basketball for a duration of a whole game, and I don't know if he can. I don't know if he's helping him do that. We've already seen him have substantial injuries throughout this season. Imagine that'd be a lot more taxing for his body as well. So I think there are a lot of questions on this. Now that Max brought that up, it definitely is a risky move to make. But if you give them 3 firsts for a guy, I guess they have some confidence in their ability to make it happen. So that's kind of my thoughts on this whole situation. But I would look, to sum it up, I would look for them to maybe make another move or two. I'm looking, like Max said, probably in the guard position. While I love George, you still need a backup guard as well, or somebody to kind of plug and play if you want to bring Ace Bailey off the bench as your 6-man type player. I don't know. But yeah, We'll see.
Honestly, I think more of a wing would be what they would need. Again, someone who can maybe run next to Ace Bailey. Because I do think Keontae George, like this year, has asserted himself. Like he is a piece that they're going to build around. And honestly, I like Isaiah Collier as that backup guard for him going forward. So I think now that they moved on from Taylor Hendricks as well and Walter Clayton, I think they need that small forward position. So maybe if Lowry gets traded, they're able to bring in a small forward that fits a front court of Jaren Jackson and Walker Kessler a little bit better.
Yeah.
But speaking of follow-up trades, I think we can give, but it could be very, as well as a 2026 first-round protected swap from Minnesota. Essentially, that's the 3 team, as we get a special guest into this show.
Yo.
I guess Jay heard, this is perfect timing. Jay heard his Bulls being talked about, and he joined up.
Yeah.
Jay, we were just getting ready to talk about
joined right before I was talking about Chicago.
Are you buying a Jaden Ivey jersey? So you're not buying a Mike Conley jersey?
Yeah, that's what I'm most excited for, I have to say. I'm most excited for Jaden Ivey in Chicago, I think.
Facts.
Well, you look. Jay looks ready to make a trade for Kobe White. He's going and doing some on the ground GM work for Chicago. Man. But
I was about to say, as an Ayo DeSumo fantasy owner, I would love Kobe White off my team. He plays so much better when that ball hog isn't holding the ball. Respectful though. No, but continue with the intro to this trade.
Well, I think that is about it. Again, Minnesota is not receiving, as far as we're aware, anything in this trade, anything tangible, I should say. They're just sending out Conley and they attach that pick swap. But this does, I believe, get them under the second apron. So they're now a first apron team, and they save a lot of money in the luxury tax. So that opens up the room for them to potentially make another trade before the deadline. Omar, do you think that is that game plan for the Timberwolves?
Possibly. I really do think this is more of a Timberwolves getting off Mike Conley deal. But I have to say, just real quick, Jaden Ivey is free. Jaden Ivey is free. Jaden Ivey is free. Just get him off Detroit, man. There's too much talent over there. He's so good. He's too good to be there. It's just like his talent was so hidden out in Detroit, man. I just feel like not all of it was showing, man. He didn't get the time. He was injured a few times here and there. We're talking about a guy that was like one of the most exciting prospects coming into 2 years ago. People were talking about him like he was going to change teams. But and I really like this for Chicago. I really like how they just got Jaden Ivey for what? Kevin Huerter? That's gonna go down real well in the books. It's gonna go down real well.
All right. Earl, what do you think about this? You like this from which team's perspective do you like this from the most of the 3 teams?
Okay, my perspective is this. I think, first of all, I'll say like this is an empty chip type of trade. I feel like there's a lot of question marks behind every part of this trade. The only team I feel like made this trade to upgrade their team potentially is probably the Pistons. That's the only team where I feel like they actually traded on purpose without an ulterior motive. They wanted a extra guy like, I guess, Sarge, and they wanted Kevin Huerter, another wing shooter. That's what I was hearing. Even though he's only shooting around 31% through the season, but we ball. Apparently, that's what they were looking for in the market. The Bulls side of things, I still think Jaden Ivey isn't completely safe yet until Kobe White and or Ayo DeSumo is off of the team. I feel like it'll be the same situation where he was on the Pistons, where he'll have trouble getting a lot of playtime ahead of those guys, especially how they've established themselves this season. So that's a big question mark. Timberwolves, I feel like they made a lot of, obviously, cap space decisions. We know they're searching for Giannis and or John Moran as well. So that makes sense. I mean, they move off of Mike Conley's contract. They drop down a couple tiers in the apron. Makes sense. But for the Bulls, I think they're the biggest question mark here, man. Like, what are the Bulls trying to cook, man? Like, they have what? I almost said the 6'7" thing. I'll say whatever. 6'7" guards on this roster. I mean, they can't. What's the guard's name who used to play on Memphis? The short guard. No disrespect.
Which one? You could be talking about a lot. Kyle Lowry played for
I'm talking about he's on the roster right now.
Yuki Kawamura.
Oh yeah, Yuki. Yeah.
Like, are you gonna drop Yuki when he just had an play? He's a fan favorite, bro. You're gonna drop him? You have so many guards on this team. Sorry.
They just dropped
Trey Jones. I forgot about Trey Jones, who was balling before he got hurt.
Trey Jones.
I completely forgot about him.
Trey Jones plays like 3 positions, if I'm not wrong.
He's a guard.
No, he's very much a guard.
He's literally
I'm
guard.
gonna double check before I keep talking.
I mean, I
go ahead and double check. There's no way he's playing small forward.
Maybe they do because of the number of guards they have. They'll sometimes run a 3-guard lineup, but I mean, he's what?
Sometimes it'll be every game.
6'2".
He's 6'1". He's averaging 12.4 points a game, 6 assists, 3 rebounds. So he's having a pretty decent season. A guy coming off the bench, right? I'm trying to look at AL stats.
I'm at Jones.
I just think for me, I think this has to be a beginning of another move for the Bulls, right? Like you have AO averaging 15 and 4, shooting 45% from 3. It would be criminal to take minutes from this guy, especially how he's been playing recently. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. And defenses, I don't know what the defensive splits are.
Yeah, he plays small forward, by the way, Trey Jones.
6'1" small forward. Okay, I'm not
counting
that.
I'll look up how many.
That's what it says on Sleeper. That's what it says on ESPN.
This year.
Bro, he's literally. If you
and
go
by the way,
on
Miles
Basketball
McBride also
Reference,
plays small forward at 6'2", so it's not the most.
So you're just looking at a.
If you go to Basketball Reference, he plays point guard, by the way. So we'll stick with that.
I mean, it's not saying he doesn't play point guard. It's just saying he also plays small.
He's not playing small forward, bro. Like if you're relying on Trey Jones to be a small forward at 6'1", that's just unrealistic. Like let's be real.
Yeah, it's too much. Real talk.
So my point still stands. They have way too many guards on this team who have to be traded, bro. So for me, I think the most confusing in this deal is the Bulls because I really don't see any direction. Like Jay said, it kind of doesn't make any sense. And on top of that, you're bringing in Mike Conley. Oh, do we want to talk about that too?
They're trying to get off of Mike Conley, which is, to be fair, they're trying to get off of Mike Conley and Kobe White.
Who's like, oh, I want Mike Conley today?
Yeah, they honestly, I don't think anybody said, yeah, I want Mike Conley. I think they said, here, can we throw Mike Conley in this deal, please? That's exactly what.
No, I'm saying like you're saying like they should move to they were trying to move him, actively move him. I just don't see a team right now. You're talking about the Bulls?
The Bulls said they were actively trying to move on from Kobe White and my brain is pooping.
Okay,
you know what? Mike Conley, my brain shit itself. Yeah.
To Omar's credit, Trey Jones this year, according to cleaningtheclass.com, has played 9% of his minutes as a small forward.
Okay. All right.
The other 91% he's a guard.
I'm not counting that.
Okay.
I'm not counting that.
So he's a small forward 9% of the time.
I'm not counting that.
It works. It works.
He's
for
a guard.
Me. It doesn't
He's a
work.
guard.
It works for me.
It doesn't work. I'm not giving you that one, bro. I'm sorry. I'm not giving
you that
one. The point still stands. I'm passing up the mic.
100%.
But my point is the Bulls have a lot of decisions to make before the trade deadline ends. They have way too many guards on this team who, for the most part, a lot of them are really talented. And it'll be criminal to waste some of these guys' seasons just because they have an overflex of players at the same position. Share the wealth, man. Share the wealth. Ayo to the Lakers.
Honestly, I don't hate this. I kind of like this for the Bulls just because they're not giving up much value. An NBA player, I don't think they were putting any stock in him to be a part of their long-term future. I don't think they're devastated to lose him. Like Earl said, he's had a little bit of a rough stretch from 3. Yeah. I don't think he's a key part of anything they're doing. And Dario Saric, they just acquired 2 days ago. And I don't think he was going to play for them anyway. So bringing in Jaden Ivey, Omar was raving about his talent earlier. I don't think I'm quite on that level of Jaden Ivey belief, but I do think that a second destination for him in his NBA career is going to be good for him. I do think there's a lot of raw talent there. It's just a matter of can they refine it. So it's a low risk, high reward move for the Bulls. If they are able to refine that Jaden Ivey talent, you do have like a borderline starting NBA caliber point guard to put next to Josh Giddey, or maybe a 6th man to come off the bench for their team. So low risk investment for them. Obviously, Mike Conley, good chance he gets moved again before the deadline, or they just
100%,
don't play him much before the end of the season. It's a solid move for Detroit. Bringing in Herter, I don't know. Again, Earl mentioned how they were in the market for a 3-point shooter, kind of some shooting off the bench. I don't know that Herter's going to do a ton for them. He's a boom or bust guy. Maybe in the playoffs this year, because obviously Detroit's one of the favorites in the East. Maybe Kevin Herter can have a throwback playoff series and average 10 points, 12 points off the bench and have good efficiency.
You want to know who he really reminds me of?
But there's also a chance you're going to get Kevin Herter, very streaky, inconsistent, can shoot 1 for 6 from 3 in a game. And if he's not really, if he's not a sharpshooter, if he's not hitting his 3-point shots, he's not giving you anything defensively. He's not a great playmaker. He's not super big for his position. So high risk move there. But as Omar had said, Jaden Ivey kind of fallen out of favor in Detroit. So they move on from him. They don't get a ton in return just for him, but they do get that first round pick swap from Minnesota, which might be valuable, might not be, who knows. But I guess when you get the chance to recoup a first round pick for a former first round pick that you didn't really pan out for you, it's a solid move for them. And from Minnesota's perspective, it all depends on what they do with this. I don't want to say cap space, but now that they're under the first apron, it depends what they do with that. If this is the necessary move to go get a Giannis Antetokounmpo, to go get a Ja Morant, then this trade is going to look great for them. But I don't know if it's just them making the gamble that something's going to come of this, or they know something is going to come of this. So either it's going to work out, they're going to make a big move either at this deadline or in the offseason, and this was the trade that, set them up to do it, or they're taking a very big chance, because again, once you start trading away a first round pick, or I know it's a pick swap, but still, once you start doing that, you better be pretty sure that you're going to get some value in return, considering you're getting nothing in this trade. So time will tell for this Minnesota part, but I don't mind it for the Bulls. I don't love it for Detroit, at least right now.
Yeah.
Well, I'm on the same boat here.
All right.
So I think that's
let's end it here, before we surpass 30 minutes, guys.
I'll say this.
Longer episode today.
Finish it off, bro.
If any other trades do break before the trade deadline, we'll either cover it that day or the next day. Hopefully, Jay will be in here as well for that. So if y'all enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your week. Adios.
Peace. I'm fine in the West.